Hey, hello, this is Brent. Welcome back to my kitchen / workshop. Today what I'm looking to do, I got a Shimano Stradic. It's one of the silver series. It's an HK. It's a 1000 size, and so first what I'm going to do is just give an overview. I've already taken it apart. I'll be talking throughout because there's some things with these reels that you can do thinking you're helping that'll actually cause them to be a little bit stiff, a little bit tight. Still smooth, yet not free. So first of all, I'm going to just give an overview of my little workshop here, my little pad. Hoping you can see that. Just going to pan over some of the little Torx bits that you need to use now. I'm not sure about the sizes for the 2500, 3000 and larger models, but those are definitely what you'll need, all three sizes, to completely tear those down. You'll need a 12 metric wrench, and you can see I've got it pretty much broken down all the way, waiting on some parts today to come in the mail. I'm going to actually, there's a bushing right here. You can see the worm gear in there. And that's the difference between the Stradics, the Saros, and then down to the symmetry. These have the worm gear oscillation where the others have an oscillating gear. You get down some of the smaller ones, they even have an oscillating gear that's not even round. Engineers, I don't know how they came up with that. I don't think those reels are all that smooth, those little ones. So, with no further ado, and one thing I would like to ask you, if you're looking at this video and you watch it all the way through, what do you think is a good length for a YouTube video on reels? I enjoy fishing, I love it, and I enjoy for my equipment to work, so I'm always tinkering and playing. But what I don't want to do is just go on and on and on when you may be like, good grief, just get to it. Versus, you know what, I really wish you'd dig a little deeper. So I'm just kind of going to put this back together instead of taking the time to take it all the way apart. So, alright, so first thing we're going to need to do is get the main shaft back together. Now, something Shimano has started doing, now you can see that shaft, and that is not like a stainless chrome type steel. I don't know what they're making it out of now, but what I will tell you is the tolerances are getting so tight with these reels that if you put any grease, any oil, or anything on it, you'll slide it on there and it'll stay. You don't have to slide all the way down. You put it just like that and it will stay. Now I've just basically cleaned this all the way off and it's pretty free. So what I'm hoping is when I put this thing back together, and this is something I just learned because I knew this reel was, it's a really nice reel, but I'm sorry Shimano, I'm going to take them apart, I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to tinker with them. Certainly not looking to undo or redo much of what they do, but if you look at reels like the Stella, when I mentioned that little putting a little bearing right there, it's a 3x6 by 2.5. Just little things like that. There's another bushing up in here on the top side of the worm gear, but it's too small. I haven't been able to find a bearing that will actually fit in there. So it is what it is. So let's get to work. We're going to slide this up through here. See, we're going to have to get a little closer. You don't need to see my face. So we're sliding it up through there. You want to put this shaft in pretty early. If you put everything back together before you put the shaft, it kind of gets stuff in a little bit of a bind. You just want a little bit of lube on the shaft. And that shaft has a little O-ring on the end of it. It just kind of presses in there. Relatively easy. So we're that far into it. You got this little pawl here, and that's actually, if you're familiar with bait cast reels, and even all the way down to like the old pin 109s, 209s, 309s. The pawl is what rides in that worm gear, And sometimes when your level wind travel isn't quite what it should be, you might need to replace the pawl. And of course, while the camera's running, it's not one to drop in there quite so easy. It's just a matter of placement, really. Okay, now if you do open that while you're trying to do this, it's not gonna spin right. Now these nylon gears right here, alright, and I can tell right now that it's not. Okay, there you go, it caught. Okay, so it's caught in there. The pawl is actually riding down the worm gear, so we're ready to continue with our assembly. I'm gonna grab. I'm a big Alan Tiny fan. I think if there was a godfather of reel repair, I would think it would be him. I'd love to meet him, but I'm out here in the East Coast, out in Virginia, and he's in the West Coast. Anyway, he's not much of a spinning reel guy, but I've sent some of my other bigger saltwater stuff out to him. And you can see that little part that I just put in there, it only goes in one way, and the corner catches with the corner of the little frame of that, where the worm gear kind of rides. You can see that. See the little notch right there. So it'll only go in that one way. Okay, so we're halfway there. Alright, you got two bearings that are on the pinion gear. You got a small one and a large one. But speaking of Alan Tiny, I use the blue Yamaha lube. I think it works better on larger reels. It's a little sticky. And Shimano uses Permalube. You got to put this main gear back on here. And this will and what I did, I cleaned that very well before I put it back, because before, even if I had a little film on there, it's like that. To me, that pinion gear and that main shaft are designed to be clean, not necessarily lube with any grease and I actually one day just took that and was sliding it up and down. Started with grease, worked my way down to, basically the Bantam lube, the little Shimano lube. Worked my way all the way down to that, as thin as that is, and it still just didn't feel right. It feels right when it's clean and nothing on it. So we're going to try that. Alright, so now we're going to go back to getting the main body back together. Alright, just want to check, being as we're on video. After taking reels apart and putting them back together enough, I'm used to having to go, oops, I didn't put that back on. But for the sake of brevity on the video, and this is where your, what's that, number 5? That's where one of your Torx comes into play. You've got 4 screws that hold the main body together. 2 larger ones are outside of the cover. I'm not really sure why they did that. I do have to give props to Shimano. Back when I first got this reel, I somehow broke yonder tip, that little bitty tip off of one of these covers, and I could find the reels on the internet, but I couldn't find that part. I could find the part number, but it wouldn't pull up for me to order that part. So I called him and said, "What can I do?" And he said, "What's your address?" So I think they're making these reels now so that folks are less inclined to take them apart. I didn't put much lube back on that gear because I had so much on the main gear. So you'll notice I didn't really re-lube it much. I really want to see what it's like now that I've cleaned that main shaft off. Because I'm still twinking, still playing. So now they got that. That's just going to slip back. Yeah, it is with any of these reels. If you have to force something's probably not quite lined up right. And this is going to be the middle one. This is the only time when you use. See, the bigger one is an 8. So you can actually find those are some toolkits. This one's a 5. And the only screw that this does is the one that goes under the cover. And it doesn't feel quite perfect. I almost wonder if it's a 6. But that works. It gets everything tight enough. Alright, so now we're working our way toward the anal reverse clutch. Don't ever want to put any grease on here. You can put a little bit of light, you know, some type of oil on there, machine oil, mineral oil. There is a little O-ring that goes down here that I almost forgot. And it sits right on the very top. You really have to almost use both hands just to be sure it sits there. Because it doesn't, it's not tight, it's not loose. Evidently, like Goldilocks, it's just right. And this will only go on one way. And one of the things about these Haganes that I really like is the fact it doesn't have an inner reverse. And why are you? Okay, I don't know why it's not going on, but you'll see that there's a little knockout right there, and then you see on here there's a little stud right there. There's the stud boy. So those two things should line up, and now the O-ring's out of place. So, you know, this is one of those things I could just leave, for the sake of the video, I could just leave this out and put it back together. But my OCD might not allow that to happen. You know, I'm OCD about some things, and some things I could care less. I must have a screw that's down, which is keeping it from seating precisely. Something very important, you'll notice the screws on here. You got 3 larger screws in a triangular formation, and then you have one other screw down on the bottom here. Actually 2. The 3 that are in the triangle are the ones that you want to remove. That will keep the clutch intact. If you remove all the screws, then you're gonna have a good time getting that back together. All right, this is actually what rides on that anal reverse clutch. Now this again is to be clean. You can put a little light oil on it. If you put any thicker type lube on there, then it will potentially, that just seats down there, fat side up. Then this little cup goes in. That's what the spool rides on. You'll see the bottom of the spool. It's got a ring. Well, not really a ring, but it's an opening right there. It actually rides down in that little cup. Sure don't have any parts left over. We're approaching 15 minutes, so it's go time. Now I do like these reels. I don't think they're quite as smooth as the Stradics or the CI4s, but they're wonderful. And this is a righty loosey lefty tighty. You want to get that so snug. I tell you what, we're gonna go ahead and screw the handle back on. Yeah, we're getting a little bit long in my eyes for the video. Yeah, it's feeling good. Feeling good. A little O-ring kind of thing. It just stays on top here. Do a lot to try to keep debris out of the reel. The more they can do that, the better off they are in the long run. Keep stuff out of the warranty shop just because it's dirty. I've got to adjust that because it's got to get on there. You can see it's got those two holes in there, and this cover has got to go. And it's basically like serves the same purpose as the retaining screw. You know, as long as this cover is on, the nut that holds the rotor on is not going anywhere. Now, I don't think there's any need to upgrade any of these bearings or anything on here. Truthfully, it's a quality reel. It truly is. But you can get in there and put too much lube in the wrong place, wrong kind of lube. Don't clean the whole lube out. There's lots of things you can do that'll have a negative effect on performance, and you'll end up thinking the reel's a piece of whatever because of from something you did. There are fine reels out there. Daiwa makes a good product. Penn makes a good product. Lew's makes a good bait cast reel. Now this is a itty bitty here. This is a two, and I think I got these from from eBay and from China, and they were only a couple dollars a piece. You can probably go to an electronic shop, but that takes the place. It used to be you just pop that off, but now see right there. There's a little opening right there, and there's a Torx in there. And number 2, little bitty. And one of the bearings. Oh, great! Be right back. One of the bearings in here that you really want to keep a good eye on, especially if you use braided line, is oh yeah, that's a lot looser. That's a lot better. Just having that be clean. But one of the bearings that you really want to look out for is that roller bearing. Especially if you use braided line like I do, you got to think about monofilament. Monofilament doesn't really collect water. I mean, you might have some water on the outside of the line itself, but braided line being woven, water can actually gather in an overcase of time, especially saltwater fishing. You got line constantly going under that roller, little bitty droplets of water. So you want to make sure you keep that clean. It's really going to pay dividends in the end. All right, well look, I'm Brent, Stradic Hagane 1000 HK model, quality reel. I prefer the CI4s if I had a choice, but this is a solid reel nonetheless. About $20 or so less on the price point, but a really solid reel. I really enjoy using this reel for little schoolie stripers and stuff like that in salt water. It works really well. I've got it spooled with some 8-pound Suffolks. I use a uni-to-uni knot to make sure I cinch that down good and tight. Usually some type of 10-pound leader. Any larger than that, and I just think you get kind of a bulky knot when you're using a small or ultralight rod and there's a smaller guides. It just doesn't seem to work very well. But we're approaching the 20-minute mark. But we got this back together, and I'm looking forward to getting out on the water and seeing what we can do with it. Now it's end of February 2018 here in Central Virginia. It's raining this morning. Got off from the firehouse. Was there a little bit late on the call, but anyway, back here now doing some reel therapy. Kind of way I look at it. Shimano Stradic 1000 HK. Back together, one piece, working good. God bless. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you on the water.